Poverty, family breakdown, abuse, and neglect. These are just some of the reasons why children leave home and head for the streets. Worldwide, there are an estimated 100 million street children. In Vietnam, it's a relatively new social phenomenon the government is trying to come to terms with, especially as the country makes its transition to a market economy. Susan Yu reports on some of the efforts to help Vietnam's growing number of underprivileged youngsters.
There's a Vietnamese proverb that says, having a child will bring an abundance of wealth and happiness. But for the poor, it can mean something very different. A growing number of children are leaving home at the request of their financially overburdened parents or on their own initiative. Most are from the rural provinces, and most end up on the streets in Vietnam's bustling cities.
I think the main reasons can be categorized to economic reasons, partly also due to migration from rural areas. For example, in Ho Chi Minh City, 80% of the children come from other provinces.
In socialist Vietnam, although street children are a relatively new phenomenon, they have caught the government's attention. In 1998, the problem was so acute, the country's prime minister ordered all government welfare agencies to work together to combat the issue. Social workers believe there are roughly 38,000 street children in Vietnam.
In Ho Chi Minh City specifically, from about 8,500 to 10,000.
Ah Hung is one of them. The 6-year-old is illiterate and begs for a living. His mother is an itinerant migrant worker who says she can barely make ends meet, let alone send her son to school. Her situation is common. The lure of better economic opportunities in the cities is irresistible for poor families.
Here in Ho Chi Minh City, most of the children actually do not live on the street. They have their families here and they go home for the night, or they live in a guest house with a group of peers who come together with them from the rural areas.
Lu Kim Cook is a social worker. She trawls Ho Chi Minh City's neighborhoods looking for street children.
I really feel sorry for them. I realize how lucky I was as a child. I was able to study and not worry about having to support myself, let alone my family. So that's why I want to do something for them.
In 1991, Lu established the Bin Loi Charity House to provide food, shelter, and an education for Vietnam's migrant street children. The center depends on local and overseas donations. It's not government funded, since none of the children here is a bona fide resident of Ho Chi Minh City. Despite having limited resources, the Bin Loi Charity House has provided a second chance for hundreds of migrant street children.
We have a strategy in approaching them. If they are selling lottery tickets, we buy the tickets to get to know the street child first. We never ask personal questions. We just chat with them, and by the second or third time we approach them, they open up and tell us everything about their personal situation. That's when we make plans to get them to come here.
Before arriving at Bin Loi, most of these children were selling lottery tickets and trinkets on the streets, like Tran Thi Quin Tran. The 11-year-old was earning less than $1 a day and was homeless.
There were lots of mosquitoes in the streets, and whenever I was sleeping, I was always scared of being kidnapped or taken away somewhere.
Tran says she depended on other street children for protection, even though they were often her competitors.
I had to approach strangers to sell lottery tickets, and other street children would try and steal my customers. I had to fight to survive.
The student body is unconventional, with children ranging from 5 to 16 years of age.
There are so many cases that stand out. The most moving ones are when the students come back and give us an update on how they've matured and become productive citizens of society.
các em trở thành người tốt trong xã hội.
It's a bittersweet situation for Lu. She knows that for every street child that comes and goes at Binh Loi, there are hundreds more who need assistance somewhere in Vietnam. With an estimated 25,000 young children living on the streets, the government has resorted to unusual measures to try to improve the situation. It's offering financial incentives for children to go back home to their families or to check into some of the government's social welfare centers. It recently started a program to provide a daily allowance of 5,000 dong or 35 US cents for a child to stay off the streets. The government says about 2,000 youngsters have enrolled in the scheme. Critics, though, have called the program a move to sanitize Vietnam's international image. But for Win Chin Quyen, any help for the underprivileged is welcome, whatever the motive. The former soldier has been running this government-funded job training school for local street children for more than 15 years. It's the only school of its kind in Vietnam, where 450 street children learn vocational skills that even include semiconductor assembling. Most of the youngsters here are orphans or have been abandoned, like Trung Quang Vu.
I was part of a group of street children who lived together underneath the bridge. We would go our own way during the day, selling lottery tickets, shining shoes, and other things. We would meet up later in the day at the bridge to eat, bathe in the river, and then head out to work the streets again till 2 in the morning.
For the 15-year-old, those days are behind him. He now has plenty to look forward to.
I want to learn how to fix motorbikes because it will be a profession that will support my future. I feel very lucky because I have a great teacher, and with my skills, I won't be looked down by other people for the rest of my life.
The students graduate when they receive enough vocational training. That's usually after a year's stay here. It's a short investment of time that will hopefully yield a lifelong return.